I honestly did not want to write this homeschool reading curriculum. I spent hours upon hours looking for something that would be a good fit for my children. I searched high and low. We tried a number of things. I've shared what we've used in the past and what kind of worked for us. But after pulling all these different resources together to try to make it happen, I decided to take what I knew about literacy and reading and writing and connected and integrate it all into nurturing connections in reading. Hi, I'm Veronica, and I share a number of resources here on YouTube and on my website where you can find encouragement, planners, homeschool beginning reading curriculums to help you connect with what matters most. You can find me at nurturingconnectionshomeschool.com, and there I have a member freebie section where you can also download a number of free printables and watch some masterclass videos that I have there as well. Now today, what I am talking about is my beginning reading curriculum, Nurturing Connections in Reading, Level B, Book 2. So I'm taking you book by book through this series just because there's so much involved when a child learns to read. And I wanted to share that background with you. If you're already using the curriculum, I wanted to kind of break down the why behind those activities so that you can see the intention behind it all and how it all works to support your student in literacy. When I came up with this idea of nurturing connections, the idea was to connect reading skills and writing skills as they go through the grade levels, because when reading and writing is connected, it is so much more effective in helping children grow and develop as readers and writers. So let's start back at the beginning. When a child is learning a language, they begin with listening, then it continues with speaking, then reading comes next, followed by writing. And as these skills are being developed, they're building upon one another. It's integrated, it's connected. What I wanted more than anything was a solid program. So what you're gonna see here is how all those pieces come together to give your child a very strong foundation in literacy, but in a gentle, systematic, multisensory way that is also integrated with faith, so that children not only cultivate their love for learning, but also the love for the Lord and worship. So I'm going to share all the pieces here with you. I've done an overview video in the past. I've already talked about book 1. And so today we're diving into book 2 and components of literacy. So let's back up. What does it take for a child to learn how to read? 5 specific areas: phonemic awareness, phonics, fluency, vocabulary, and reading comprehension. Many programs out there skip that very first step, phonemic awareness. So what does that mean? Phonemes are sounds, and phonemic awareness is the understanding that language is made up of sounds. So at the very basic level in book 1, we begin with a sentence is made up of words. Can you hear the different words in this sentence? Then they go into hearing the syllables in words, followed by the sounds in words. When you tell a child, hey, just sound it out, they won't understand what that is if they don't understand phonemic awareness. So you want to make sure they understand that. It's going to help them sound out more complex words in the future, understand how language works, even all of those exceptions to the rules in the English language, and also help them with spelling later on. These are some examples from book 1. And so we start at the very basic level. This is once we're looking at phonemes and sounds in words. So all of this is auditory. The teacher will share these sounds and the students expected to blend them together auditorily and orally. So an. And then later on it progresses. An, fan. Then you'll notice these phonemes are spread apart here. Ran. Then they're grouped up. Pan. Separated with a blend at the end. Sand. Sand. And then the blend at the beginning. Crop. So all of these activities are built in. There is a pink section at the top of every single lesson. This is a 5-minute drill where the child is hearing these sounds coming together to make words. So these are some examples of those activities. It's every day, line by line, precept by precept, so the student is able to hear those sounds in language and put them together. You'll notice here there's a manipulation of onset and rhyme, so you can change this onset to make new words like ban, can, tan, and so forth. Then it's separated so they can also learn how to sound out each individual phoneme. And then you manipulate the ending sounds as well. So pan can become pat and so forth. And then you manipulate the blends. In book 2, they're doing some phoneme manipulation. So as an example, I'm going to read you the pink section here. This is from lesson 9. It says, say rag. Your child will say rag. Now replace the g sound with n. What is a new word? Your child will then say ran. Say pen. Pen. Replace the n with t. What is a new word? Pet. Say pat. Pat. Replace t with n. What is a new word? Pan. These little activities are systematically built in where they're first replacing the initial sound, the ending sound, the middle sound, and so forth. Once they get a handle on that, then they go to counters. And so in this curriculum, I suggest getting alphabet letters. I personally love these letter tiles from Bananagram, so I'll link them below if you want to check them out. But they fit perfectly on the page, and they're also blank tiles on the back. So these blank tiles are face down, just like this. And I'll call out a word, and the child has to identify how many sounds are in that word, such as at. They would slide 1, 2, at, right? If the word was cat, then they would slide down all 3, k, at. Later on, when you get into digraphs, it would be something like chin, ch, I, n. So still 3 sounds, even though there are 4 letters. So we know there are 4 letters, but again, these activities are helping them hear those sounds so that in book 3, instead of using counters, they're going to use lines. So as an example, if the word was chin, how many sounds do you hear? Ch, I, n, 3. So we're going to draw 3 lines on our board. What makes the ch sound? We know the digraph CH. What makes the I sound? And what makes the n sound? And they can put it together from there. So again, it's building systematically, and following these little activities will help set them up for spelling in book 3 and then in level C as well, where it becomes more and more complex. So phonemic awareness, extremely important. That's how it builds in book 2. That leads to phonics. So phonics is the heart behind nurturing connections and reading. There is a strong emphasis on phonics, because when a child understands that those sounds are represented by certain letters and letter combinations, then it equips them for reading in the future. I can't tell you how many students I worked with in the upper grades that had no idea what it meant to sound out a word. And when we showed them things like CH makes a ch sound, or when you see AI, it will most likely say A, because the first vowel says its name when it's connected with another vowel. When you equip them that way, the light bulbs go off, and they say, well, if I had known this all along, then I would understand how to approach new words. But unfortunately, in many school programs, everything is done by sight, or there's so much of an emphasis on sight words that kids are having to memorize all these words. And some kids will do that really, really well, and some will struggle because their brains are not seeing the patterns in language. Again, the brain is a pattern-making device, so when it recognizes those patterns, it can attach that learning and then be able to read more and more words in the future. So keep that in mind. Phonics is extremely important here. We use visual cues. Once again, when you activate different parts of the brain, visual component, auditory component, speaking component, learning is more easily integrated. So we have the thunderclouds, the th sound, the sh, the wh for the whale, and then ch, ch for the train, and it goes ch, ch. And CH is in the front because that's what we generally see at the beginning of word, and TCH is at the back because that's what we generally see at the end of words. So it begins very, very easily in these lessons. This is an example of a practice page after the lesson has been done, and they're just identifying the sounds in these pictures. So cherries would be the ch sound, cheese, thimble, and so forth. So they're just doing some matching here to begin with. Later on, they are looking at these visual cues. Here's the lesson itself. So once again, you have the oral drill up here, the step-by-step directions. You're just reading them aloud and checking it off as you go. Here, they're having to write the specific digraphs that go with these visual cues. So SH, for example, would go on the sh, CH would go on the ch, and so forth. So again, integrated. They should know this by now. They're going to be able to do this easily. Then they're going to cut these out, and part of the lesson is manipulating them to make new words. So if I give them the word chop, they should be able to pull out that little train and put the ch on here. If I call out shop, they'll put the shop emoji here. So they're manipulating the sounds, hearing how they work in language, and they can more easily read these words. After they've done that, once again, they have their practice page where they can use these visual cues to write them in. So they're already developing that foundation in spelling. And then it's always followed by a handwriting page. So we'll get into this in just a bit. So that is the phonics breakdown. You'll have your lesson and you'll have a practice page, but it's also integrated with their handwriting, and it's also integrated with the songs they'll be singing. Again, that auditory component. So all put together. Phonics is used to develop fluency. You want your children to be fluent. So as they're practicing these activities, they also have a fluency page that they'll be working on each and every day. So again, this is in the pink section of their lesson. It'll tell you what fluency page they're working on. Each page is scheduled 3 different times. So this is an example of a fluency page. You have your 3 fish here. So on that particular day, they'll practice their fluency, their words. These are grouped by word families and the skills that they've learned in their phonics pages. These will always be behind what they're learning. So they're going to practice it, then they go into the fluency page so that they can continue to practice it and get that repetition. If you have a child with dyslexia or a learning disability, they will require more repetitions. So keep that in mind. If you have a fast learner, they may get through this on the first day and then they'll color in their fish. But if you have a child who struggles, you may have them read them 5, 10 times in one day before they color in that fish. So make it exciting. Maybe read it to your dad, read it with a puppet, read it to the dog or the cat. Get a toy and kind of jump on each word. However that needs to happen, the fluency page is there to guide you, but use what works for your specific child. Get that repetition in, prizes, games, however you choose, and then have them color that in. After those 3 are colored in, then they go on to the next fluency page and so forth. Another way we develop fluency in book 2 that is new is through readers. There are 8 readers included with book 2, and they look like this. Very simple, not a whole lot going on. We don't want to distract the child, and we also don't want to give them all the clues and the pictures or illustrations that get them to start word calling or word guessing. So we want to make sure that they're developing that fluency. Once they've learned the rules, then they have this fluency practice sheet before they start reading that you'll do with them. Now we know an effective way to help children to read is through echo reading, choral reading, and then independent reading. So there are 3 bubbles here to help you model that. You will begin with an echo read. These words and phrases are taken specifically from the text. So an echo read would go like this. I'm going to say and, you're going to point to it and you're going to say it too. And. Jack and Jill. Jack and Jill. Dad and Mom. Dad and Mom. We'll go. We'll go. We'll go up. We'll go up. We'll go up the hill. We'll go up the hill. Then we do a choral read. So we point together and we read it at the same time. And Jack and Jill, Dad and Mom, and so forth. And then we'll bubble in or color in that second bubble. Then the third one, your child will read it independently. And you'll do that with each section, and that is to prepare them so that when they're reading, they're not stopping at every single word. They're taking what they've learned about phonics and they're integrating it with those choral and echo reads to develop that fluency further. Then they'll go ahead and read the story independently. So all those phrases are in here. All the words that they've already learned aren't here. There aren't any new words that are just going to jump out at them like we've seen a lot of those readers that'll say level 1 and it has all of these really, really big words that haven't been introduced. This is all phonetically based, so it's setting them up for success. After they've read the reader, there is a parent guide at the very end, and this is to cultivate vocabulary and or comprehension. You want to make sure they understand what they're reading, right? And instead of just asking them questions that they have to kind of find a multiple choice or fill in the blank with, I wanted to make these interactive. So an example of this would be, turn to page 8. What do Mom and Jill see? Once they read it, it'll say, Mom and Jill see a bee. The bee is on a tree. And then it says, draw a bee on the tree, because you'll see there was no bee on the tree. So the intention of this is that they understand what they're reading, then they can add the bee onto the tree. If the bee's already there, then the child may start to guess, and we want to make sure that they're comprehending these correctly. Once they go through those series of activities, there's always a Bible connection. And it says, in the Bible, we read in the book of Psalm 24:1, the earth is the Lord's and the fullness thereof. God has made an amazing world for us to explore. We should give thanks for the beautiful things we get to see and enjoy. Do you like to go for walks outside? And then it connects it with a little activity as well. So all of these 8 have those parent activity guides at the very end with a number of things that they can do with you. So again, you're integrating those connections and supporting their literacy at the same time. So readers are included, your fluency pages are included, and biblical songs are included. So the children are singing songs each and every day. These are Bible songs, cultivating that heart for worship. Examples of some of the songs in book 2 include Praise Ye the Lord, He's Got the Whole World in His Hands, The Wise Man and the Foolish Man, and so forth. Now these songs are integrated in their handwriting and in their phonics and lessons as well. So an example of that is here for handwriting. You'll notice that in book 2, you have the pink line at the top, the dotted line in the middle, and the solid line at the bottom. You still have the little starfish to guide their letters as well, but they're advancing in their skills in this particular level. So you'll see here, the wise man built his house upon the rock. In order to support their fluency, you'll also see this is from God Made Me. They'll have these assessments where they're cutting out the words and gluing them into place. You'll be singing the song and pointing to the words at the same time so that the brain can start making those connections. As they're learning it auditorily, they're singing it orally. Now those connections can be made as they're reading the words as well. So that is how we integrate songs, again, to develop their fluency further. Handwriting pages are included throughout all the lessons. And then at the very end of book 2, you have a series of assessments. So the assessments are included to make sure your child is learning what was covered here. So there's a lot of checkpoints along the way, but before you go on to book 3, you want to make sure that they've understood what they've learned, that they have a strong foundation, and it also provides some activities that you can make into little centers and practices so that if they missed a piece there, you can fill in that gap before you move forward. The goal isn't to just check off the boxes. It's not just to get through the curriculum and say, okay, we did it, and keep moving if the child hasn't learned the content. The goal is for them to cultivate that relationship with the Lord, with you, and with learning, and to enjoy that process along the way, but with a solid curriculum. This isn't fluff. This is not all fluff. This is not all fun and games. It's fun and games to support a solid understanding in literacy. I hope this was helpful. I hope this helps kind of give you that overview a little bit better. If you have any questions, please drop them below or send me an email. I will do another video in the future with book 3 so you can see how it takes a step up even further in developing their literacy, and hopefully give you the information you need to know if this could be a good fit for you and your family. Thank you for watching. I'd love to hear from you. Once again, drop them below. Please like and subscribe if you found this helpful so that it can help other homeschool moms find resources that can also help them cultivate a homeschool where they connect with what matters most.